Good morning, students. I am pleased to meet you through this video today. In this video, we will study about literary terms and devices. In my previous video, I have mentioned there are two phenomena. One, we study literature. Second, we read literature text for our pleasure. In my previous video, I mentioned that in order to study English literature, we have to gain and improve fundamental knowledge. Such knowledge, to the development of such knowledge, as a step to develop such knowledge, you should be aware of literary terms and devices used in the field of literature, specifically in the field of English literature. Today, we will study them. Contents of my presentation: terms and devices related to poems, terms and devices related to prose, terms and devices related to drama. As poetry, prose, drama as the three major branches of literature, when we consider the terms and the devices used in those texts, we will be able to understand the terms and devices used in literature in general. First, terms related to poems. In this slide, you can see three terms: diction, point of view, and theme. Diction refers to the word choice of the writer or the speaker. If you take a poem, in that poem, diction refers to the word choice of the writer or the speaker. Point of view refers to the camera lens from which the writer penetrates into the minds of the characters to see the incidents, to narrate the story. There are three forms of points of view. We will study them in detail in the following slides. Third term, theme. Theme refers to the main idea or underlying meaning which the writer explores in a literary work. Theme or themes of a text can be conveyed through a character or characters, plot, setting, or combination of all these elements. In the previous slides, we studied three terms: diction, point of view, and theme. Now, we are going to see how those terms are employed in a poem. I have taken one of my poems written for an anthology. Let me read the poem first. Please, Appa, what would you like, little baby, when I return from London? Only you, Appa. Toys or books? Which do you like more, Kunju? All my books are full of pictures of parents telling stories, Appa. I will tell stories, Kunju, till you go to sleep once I come home. When will you come, Appa? Will you bring Amma this time? Dear baby, dearest baby, this time also I will return alone. Amma is somewhat busy. The gods keep her without worries. My little Kunju, my life. You can see the poem. Also, you can read the poem. Now, we will see how those terms are employed in the particular poem. Appreciating and analyzing a poem. Diction. The writer has used colloquial language in the title. The employment of Tamil words in the poem add flavor to the text. Maybe Sri Lankan flavor to the text. Also, the diction Appa brings authenticity to the text. At the same time, the employment of the diction please creates a tone of obedience towards the father. Thus, this word choice creates sympathetic mood. The writer shows obedience for which the reader's responses are sympathetic. While tone stems from the author, mood springs from the audience or the readers. When we read the poem fully, you can understand how this poem expresses the tone of loneliness, which creates a melancholy mood among the readers. Additionally, you have learned two more terms, tone and mood. We will study them in detail in my presentation later. However, you have understood how the term diction plays a role in the poem that we read earlier. Appreciating and analyzing a poem, we are analyzing the poem that we read earlier. Themes. The themes of this poem include parents' love, uncertainty of life, Hindu mythology, separation, innocence, migration, children's needs, etc. If you are not aware of the meaning of the term themes, you will learn the meaning of this term in my presentation later. You can see how a theme has been explained. Parents' love. The writer conveys the theme of parents' love, particularly a father's love through the dictions, baby and kunju. These words emphasize how a father loves his kid sincerely in the absence of his wife. Second theme, children's needs. The writer pictures how a child waits for its parents' love. As far as the child is concerned, parents' love has been a primary need for its cheerful life. As it is not given as the baby is expected, the need of the child is denied without any compensation. I have written my explanation for two themes. You can practice by writing your explanations for the other themes which have been mentioned in the slides. Even though you will study about the meaning of the theme later, here you can understand mean indicates the main idea the writer explores in a literary text. The main ideas include parents' love, uncertainty of life, Hindu mythology, separation, innocent, migration, children's needs, etc. I believe that you can write about themes. First, you can identify the themes in a literature piece, and also you can write about them. We will move further. Common literary devices. We are going to study the meaning of common literary devices which I have selected for this lesson. Simile, which is a figure of speech used to compare two different things using the words like or as. Metaphor is a literary device used to make a comparison between two non-related concepts. Therefore, we use the first and the second device to compare two things in general. Imagery. Imagery is a literary device used to evoke the sensory experiences of the reader's minds. The diction used in the literature works help the reader to have such experience. For example, visual imagery, auditory imagery, etc. Symbolism refers to symbols that represent something beyond its literal meaning. For example, in the novel Vendor of Sweets, the writer discusses about the life in America and India. When you read that novel, you can understand America symbolically stands for the Western culture, and India symbolically stands for the culture of Eastern people. Similarly, the writers use various symbols to convey their meaning. They use persons, objects, places, and abstract concepts as symbols in literary text. Flashbacks. A flashback refers to a scene that takes place before the actual story takes place. We often see this technique in movies. The employment of this technique creates a tension in the text. Foreshadowing, it refers to an indication or a hint of what is to come later in the story. Then, allegory has been an extended metaphor used to convey broader, deeper, complex ideas by using symbolism. The last device in the slide refers to an intentional exaggeration to emphasize an idea. Even though there's a truth, the major portion of it is exaggerated. Paradox refers to an idea which has more deeper meaning than how it appears on its face value. Alliteration and assonance have been the sound effects in a literary work. You can read the notes here to understand what are the meaning of these terms. Since we will study how these devices are employed in the poems, I wish to explain them in the later sessions. Allusion, this indicates the indirect reference to something outside the text. Writers often allude the characters in historical events and mythology. Soliloquy writers often use it in drama to reveal the characters' thoughts, feelings, secrets, or plans to the audience. You can see this technique very often in the teledrama that you watch. If you take the Tamil or Sinhala, the teledramas, you can easily identify this technique used by the directors. It creates curiosity among the audience and it helps to develop the conflicts in the text. Tone refers to the attitude of the writer towards a particular concept in the text. Examples include excitement, optimism, irritation, embarrassment, nostalgia. Syntax, diction, imagery, details, and figurative language are used to create tone in literature. You can recall how the writer in the poem that we read earlier uses tone, uses diction to express his attitude. Mood indicates the word choice of the writer to give a specific feeling to the readers. Modes are created using tone, setting, theme, and voice in a literary work. In movies, directors often add different kinds of music to create intended mood. Examples include melancholy, panicked, angry, etc. For example, if you can recall the poem that we read, you can understand how the writer creates the feeling in the reader's minds. Narrator. A narrator is a person in literature who narrates the story. Types of narration is said to be point of view. There are three popular ways: first person narration, second person narration, and third person narration. We will study them in detail in my presentation later. Protagonist can be a principal actor, hero, center character, main character, the one who drives the action of the story. Antagonist, principal opponent, foil of the main character, villain of some kind, who creates conflicts by challenging, obstructing, confronting the main characters and others in the story. Writers use repetition as well. Employment of same words or phrases repeatedly can be called as repetition. It is commonly used for three purposes by the writers. One, to create music. Second, to show an urgency. Third, to emphasize an idea. When you identify the technique repetition, you can see why this has been used in the particular literature text. Setting, it indicates the time and the place of the story. As a literary element, it is used in novels, short stories, plays, movies, etc. Plot, it is a sequence of interrelated actions set on the basis of cause and effect principle. Further, we will study the term point of view. As I mentioned earlier, there are three types of points of view. First person narration, third person narration, and the second person narration. In first person point of view, the narrator becomes, or the narrator takes a role of a witness or participants or storyteller. Narrator has been one of the persons in the story. Third person point of view. In third person point of view, narrator takes the role of an observer and reporter. Sometimes this third person point of view can be an omniscient point of view or limited point of view. Omniscient point of view refers to the full knowledge of the narrator. The narrator has a full understanding of all the characters. Limited point of view, limited third person point of view indicates the knowledge of the narrator towards only one character in the text. The narrator does not have full knowledge about all the characters in the text. Satire. Before we come to satire, we studied first person point of view, third person point of view. In the text, if the speaker mentioned with the diction you, that is the second person point of view, there are advantages and disadvantages of using these three forms of narration. When we study the poem in our syllabus later, we will learn further about them. Satire, we have two main satires in general, political satire and social satire. Satire is used to criticize a person, institution, or situation for the absurdity or weaknesses using comedy, irony, mockery, and exaggeration. You can see how this device is used to insult a person, institution, or situation. Rhetorical question. The employment of rhetorical question in the literature is not to seek an answer. It is often used to emphasize a specific point. The writer does not expect an answer, but the writer uses it to emphasize a concept. Climax. It is the final topic of my presentation today. Climax, which is the most important element in a story or drama, features the most dramatic, meaningful, and suspenseful moment in the story. Hope you have noted down and understood the terms and devices discussed in this video. In my next video, I will explain the poems one by one. Thank you.